Game 3 of the NBA Finals is in the books. The Pacers go up 2-1, and it was a great game. Great game. Great game. I enjoyed every minute of it. I was on the edge of my seat despite being tired as hell. I was hella tired. I worked out earlier, worked earlier, got back. I wanted to take a nap, but it was hard to sleep on this game. Um, Pun intended. But let's just say one of the things that I took away from this game uh, was how far defense travels. And I think that many times it's easy to get caught up in the shooting, people making a play, getting a bucket. Benedict Mathurin was incredible in this game. His shot making, his ability to get downhill to the rim. Pascal Siakam started off the game really hot, set the tone for the Pacers. Um, Tyrese Halliburton was able to make some big shots. Neesmith, of course, TJ McConnell, and I'm going to get into all of that. But one of the things that I took away from this game was that defense travels further than shooting. Defense travels further than shooting. And I know, this is mostly a Detroit Pistons channel, but I definitely touch on, other aspects of the NBA and the league. And one of the things that continuously comes up when people think about trade ideas or offseason acquisitions and how teams need to improve, they always start and seemingly end with shooting. And I consistently get frustrated because I'm like, damn, don't you realize there's so much more to the game of basketball than shooting? I'm not saying shooting's not important. I'm not saying shooting isn't also part of how you score, right? You got to shoot from the free throw line, right? You've got to shoot a jump shot, shoot a three. But yet, I think people get so easily infatuated with this idea that if you get a shooter, all of a sudden now your team is good, right? People don't realize the Indiana Pacers, their turnaround last season was not because they had this awesome offense and they were just shooting lights out. It was because they acquired Pascal Siakam last season and they became a defensive minded team. I want to repeat, the Indiana Pacers turned the page and became a championship contending team, which we wouldn't realize until their run into the Eastern Conference Finals that they validated this season in another run past the Eastern Conference Finals into the NBA Finals. They have turned the page because their defense elevated. Their defense became top 10. Their defense became lockdown worthy. Now, all of a sudden, Andrew Nemhard, Aaron Neesmith, to an extent, Miles Turner, became so invaluable because now their second best player, at times their best player, Pascal Siakam, all NBA, All Star forward, Eastern Conference Finals, most valuable player, Pascal Siakam, was a high level defender from his days in Toronto. He can defend three, sometimes four different positions. That addition alone, that shift alone, transitioned that team from being a good team, exciting team, enjoyable to watch team, promising team, to a contending team. The Oklahoma City Thunder. The reason why they are so good is because of defense. Not because of this great offensive team. Yes, they have a great offensive talent in Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and a burgeoning, really good offensive talent in J-Dub, Jalen Williams. And, Jalen Williams actually had a really good game last game. So did Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. When you check the box score, both of them had really strong games, along with Chet Holmgren. But what made them a contending team was their defense as a team. Their defense, their foundation, their pedigree, their claim to fame, their ticket into the NBA finals, into their conference finals was defense. Defense travels far more than shooting because you have to understand when you get into the playoffs, especially into the second round, the third round, you have to realize you're going to be facing other players who are going to be athletic, long, have great intensity. They're going to be locked into a uh, scouting report. defensive scheme that is centered primarily around stopping you. And when you're a shooter, most of the time, your most efficient jump shot, especially from the 3-point line, is an open three. But if you watch in the playoffs, your open three is about that much of an opportunity. It's that big. It's that big. You get a moment. You get a blink of an eye. You don't get the amount of time where in the regular season you might be facing the Charlotte Hornets, you might be facing um, uh, a team like Memphis with a bunch of injuries. You might be facing a Washington Wizards team that really doesn't necessarily know how to win in the NBA yet. You might be facing a Brooklyn Nets team that's tanking or Utah that's tanking. And then you kind of get your efficiency really high. Yo, what's good, man? But when you get into the playoffs, everyone's locked in. Everyone's athletic. Everyone has length. Everyone is playing hard. Everyone knows the scouting report, knows their responsibility. Yeah, let's tap in later, man. Everyone knows what they're doing. So your opportunity to get off a jump shot is that big. It's that big. So when you start thinking about how important shooting is, you're like, well, yes, but most of the time you're not really getting open shots. Most of the time you're getting ran off the 3-point line. Most of the time your ability to rely upon your 3-point shooting is less and less an attribute that's going to transfer into these big games. If you look at probably the best shooters, like just pure shooters on both teams, you'd probably have to say I mean, you can say Tyrese Halliburton and SGA, but they're just more. I think they're more just scorers, players who are just extremely skilled and they get off their shot in many different ways. But pure shooters, probably Ben Shepherd, Isaiah Joe, pure shooters. And they come off the bench and maybe play anywhere between 5 minutes, and if they're playing well, maybe 12 minutes. They're not getting 30 minutes a game. They're not getting 28 minutes a game. Most of the players who are extremely effective are two-way players who can defend multiple positions and score in a myriad of ways. That means that when you're looking at players to add to your team, especially with the Detroit Pistons, your defense has to be where you start. Especially because if we're honest, the Detroit Pistons are not a great defensive team. They have a phenomenal defensive fulcrum of a player with Asar Thompson, and then a phenomenal interior defender when it comes to uh, Isaiah Stewart. But across the board, they're not a great defensive team. They've been able to leverage those two players to produce a really efficient, effective defense as a team, and it got them to the first round of the playoffs. I think they might have got past the Knicks had they had Isaiah Stewart. Definitely if they had Ivy as well. All that's to say is, as they look into this offseason, they have to continue to build out this roster with players who can play a style that transfers the furthest. We noticed with Malik Beasley, Tim Hardaway Jr., what happened in the playoffs. Great game one, completely absent, a cone on defense, a liability for game 2, 3, 4, 5. And then they kind of figured it out by game 6. Right? What transfers are all the other aspects of basketball. So when you start with, this is who we need to get this offseason because they're a shooter, I go, yeah, but that only gets you so far. And if you're going to invest, as some people were pointing to, a Laurie Markkinen, if you're going to invest 42, 45, 48, 50 something $1 million a year, you better be able to do a whole lot more than that. Now, I know Laurie is a pretty decent rebounder, has some uh, ability off the bounce, but I would by no means say he's a shot creator. Eh, in fact, he plays more like a Pascal Siakam, except he doesn't defend like a Pascal Siakam. And I think that's something that we have to really take a look at. Now, I want to dive more into this game, but before I do, let me answer some of these Chat, best defense Indiana ever played. Yo, bro, facts. They came out in this game and they defended lights out. I kept saying to myself, they're playing OKC's level of intensity on defense. That's what they came out the gate with. That's what Indiana was playing with. An OKC, Oklahoma City Thunder level of defensive intensity. Even Tyrese Halliburton. And I think that's something that I was really impressed by that the Pacers, they were not worried about fouls. They were not worried about fouls. They were like, we are going to play intense physical defense. We're going to almost like 300. We're going to give them nothing but take from them everything. OKC got cocky. I don't know if they got cocky. It's a big difference going into someone else's house in the NBA Finals. It is different. And similar to how when Indiana was in OKC, guys like Isaiah Joe was able to get off. Aaron Wiggins had really big games. He had 18 points in game two. Alex Caruso had 20 points in game two, right? The bench guys played better. The team played with so much more energy. Um, it's just different. And when you look at the box score, and I went back and watched the game earlier today. Uh, OKC, their big three did not struggle. Yeah, they had some critical turnovers, maybe missed layups here and there, missed opportunities, but they didn't have terrible games. They actually had a really, really good game. All three showed up, scored 20 plus points, 10 rebounds, assists. Uh, Collectively, they did everything they were supposed to do, just about. Just about. Couple of critical turnovers, missed free throws, etc. But the real difference maker, I thought, was the scheme. Was the scheme. The Pacers coming out with an Oklahoma City level of intensity on defense, I think was another layer of wearing down the Oklahoma City Thunder. By the fourth quarter, they were absolutely gassed. That little turnover by Alex Caruso, where TJ McConnell steps into the pass off the inbound, that was fatigue. That was, oh, let's just get the ball out. And I'm not thinking. A split second, split moment. It was fatigue. You saw by that fourth quarter, OKC was walking the ball up, slowing the pace down. They're trying to catch their breath. When you play intense defense and you run up and down the court, and I'll make the point now about the scheme for the Indiana Pacers. Not only do they press you 92 feet, full length of the court, they also push the pace on offense every single time, even off of dead balls, even off of made baskets. I want to say the last two field goals made for the Indiana Pacers down the stretch within 2 minutes in the fourth quarter were off of transition baskets by Pascal Siakam. He kept running, forcing you to run with him, which is why OKC has not been able to go to their double big lineup. And then not only are they running up and down the court full length in transition and pressuring you on defense, when they're in their half court set, they actually play sideline to sideline. If you watch, it's a major component. Maybe it's something that coaches recognize and acknowledge how impactful that is. But you have to understand when you play sideline to sideline, not baseline to baseline, right? Sideline to sideline, and you're moving the ball from one side of the court all the way to the other. You force the defense to transition and to play and rotate and chase and help and recover another great length of the court. And that distance alone, going all the way from one side of the court all the way to the other while sprinting down the court in transition to stop them from getting an easy bucket and being pressured full length of the court, it took its toll. It took its toll on the Indiana Pacers. I'm sorry, on the Oklahoma City Thunder. And the benefit from the Pacers' point of view was that they had a bench that was able to maintain the style of play that the Pacers wanted. They had TJ McConnell, They had Benedict Mathurin, Obi Toppin, even Ben Shepherd gave him some minutes, and Thomas Bryant. All were able to come in and continue to push the pace, intensity with defense. Even if they got handsy, even if they got a quick foul, even if as long as they weren't turning it over and they were getting the shot up and playing aggressively, they continued to force the Oklahoma City Thunder to play with a level of intensity and pace that they are not built for. Oklahoma City is built to pressure you and turn you over and get out in transition. They're not built for you pressuring them. This was something that I think that we looked at because we only saw it happening one way. We didn't see it happening both ways. We saw the Oklahoma City Thunder pressure Denver and wear them out. That was a close series, very close series. But we saw them also being able to pressure Minnesota and wear them out. We saw them be able to pressure Memphis and wear them out. Now, I do think things would have been a little bit better if Ja hadn't gotten hurt and knocked out the air by Lou Dort. But it's to say, I think that we only saw it happening one way. We saw Indiana be able to pressure the Knicks. Indiana be able to pressure who they faced in the second round. Was it Cleveland? Milwaukee? The pressure was happening one way. This is the first time we're seeing it happen both ways. Both teams have great point of attack defenders who are able to pressure you the full length of the court. Both teams are able to go into their bench and bring athletic defenders, wing defenders off the bench to pressure you and maintain pressure on the ball and on the wings. Aaron Wiggins, Alex Caruso. For Indiana, it's TJ McConnell. It's guys like, Jarris Walker got hurt, unfortunately. I think he would be a huge difference maker. But also Ben Shepherd, right, is another guy who they bring off the bench. And even you saw the offensive-minded players who generally don't give you great defense play great defense in this game. Obi Toppin had some great defensive plays. Benedict Mathurin, right, was able to physically stay with SGA, keeping his body to him. Jalen Williams, J-Dub, using his length, his physicality on them on the perimeter. You had all these guys give you so much pressure back and forth. This series has become a war of attrition. And I think Indiana's winning. Let me get to some of these comments real quick. If you're enjoying this live, smash the like button for me and subscribe and the bell for notifications. Helps with the channel, helps with the algorithm. Get some of these comments here. Let me see. Pacers got away with that clear path foul on Aaron Nesmith. No, it wasn't a clear path. He actually made a play on the ball, grabbing the arms of Alex Caruso going up for that layup. If he had grabbed without a play on the ball in the backcourt or near half court, right, that would have been potentially a clear path. But he was actually making a play on the shot at the rim. So that's not a clear path. A clear path is when you're trying to stop the other team from getting out in transition. This wasn't a play where he was stopping him from getting out in transition. He was actually chasing him the full length of the court and got him going up for that layup. Right. So that wasn't a clear path foul. Yeah, I don't think OKC got cocky either. They got to win either this year or next year. Boston will be out the mix next year. Plus, they're not going to be able to keep all those players due to the new CBA. Well, that depends. I think OKC will be willing to go into that second apron if they're running it back to the NBA Finals or Conference Finals. I think for sure they're going to be able to retain, their big three, right? They're going to be able to retain uh, SGA, J-Dub, Chet. But then you look at guys like iHeart. I think they can extend him. I don't think he gets what he got prior. I don't think he gets the 27 million a year, but I think that he gets, maybe 20, 18, right? Give him 18 a year for the next 4 years. I think he's willing to extend. I also see OKC with all their draft picks being able to bring in talent that can supplement that. The draft is in, I want to say, about 2 weeks. It's just right after the NBA Finals, maybe a week or so after the NBA Finals concludes. It's coming up though. But I see OKC bring in like they have a treasure trove, not just of draft picks, but of young talent. So OKC is going to be back. I don't think they are worried about having to go into the second apron to retain guys because they're not worried about losing guys. They have Case and Wallace. He's pretty much there to replace LeGuin's Dort right now. So when Dort's contract is up, they're not going to overpay for him. Now, if they can get a team friendly deal, sure. But remember, they still got Isaiah Joe, they got Aaron Wiggins, right? They got a whole bunch of guys. They got last year's first round pick, which was who was the best point guard of that draft, but who had just blown out his knee. So he's been sitting and waiting, right? He's probably gonna have a great summer league. Just like Chet Holmgren when he sat out his rookie year, got a chance to get his body right, learn the team, get acclimated to the league. I fully expect their draft pick from last year to be able to step in and play significant minutes. Let me look at his name exactly. I don't like forgetting people's names. Always a thing for me. What's his name? His name is Nikola Topic, 19-year-old. Yeah, Nikola Topic. He's going to be nice for them next year. He's going to be nice for them next year. Like if he's in this year's draft, he's probably a top 5 pick. So I don't think OKC is worried about retaining guys. As a matter of fact, when you look at this roster, right, they got Alex Caruso locked up through 28-29. Aaron Wiggins is locked up through 28-29. Great deal. That's an amazing deal. Isaiah Joe is locked up through 27-28. Right? SGA, iHeart, Dort, Case and Wallace are all locked up all the way through 26-27. So they got this roster wrapped through 26-27. And then they don't have to start paying Chet Holmgren, who I think they extend this offseason. They don't have to start paying him until the 26-27 season. Yeah. Yeah. So they're fine. They're fine. And this is where I point to the Detroit Pistons all the time. They have to invest in their draft. They have to invest in their draft. They have to say, I'm not, it's not that you don't want to bring in other players, is that you don't want to dismiss the talent you have because it gives you depth. It gives you offensive, sorry, not offensive. It gives you salary and roster flexibility that allows you to sustain winning, also sustain your culture and sustain your team identity, right? Even though Bobby Clinton and Tolu Smith didn't play a lick last season, right? Spent pretty much the entire year uh, in the G League. They've been in the system. They know the system. They know the identity of their team. They know the culture. They're bought in. They're coming in that program, in that organization. They fit Detroit basketball now. So when you talk about bringing in a Laurie Markkinen or let's find a replacement for Tobias Harris already, who's playing great basketball for you. Tobias is playing great, not good, great for you. Yeah, he's older. I get it. He's playing great for you though. You don't just quickly dismiss him because you want to upgrade, right? This isn't a new phone, right? Building a championship team is not like getting next year's iPhone, right? Or you just, oh, we get some new perks on the app or we get some new, system upgrades. That's not what this is. The more you can keep critical components of your team, players around within your organization and system, the more your team is able to play at a high level over a sustained amount of time. You go through these teams' roster. All these guys have been on this team for multiple years. Everyone outside of Caruso and iHeart, who they brought in recently, right? Caruso was there last year, I believe, on the part of the Josh. Oh no, he was part of. He was traded in the offseason for the whole Josh Giddey thing, and then they signed iHeart. But everyone else has been a part of the system, and they grab guys who fit their culture and identity and their system. Same thing with the Indiana Pacers. Outside of bringing in Pascal Siakam last year, all these dudes have been on the team for a long time. Tyrese Halliburton, Andrew Nemhard, Aaron Neesmith, Miles Turner, right? Has been there the longest tenured pacer on the roster, was drafted by them. TJ McConnell, Ben Shepard was drafted by them. You got Jarris Walker, uh, uh, Benedict Matherin, right? Obi Toppin, who they've had the past few years, right? They have a team that's been around in that system for a long time. You have to hit on your draft picks. You have to begin to build a program where there's an identity, a culture that guys can come in and fill in when needed, right? Next man up. You can have that type of trust when guys have been there. If guys haven't been there, right, it's hard to maintain that and it's hard to sustain winning. Let me get to some of these other points before I get into more of this game. What's up, Rock? TJ is a dog, man. Yeah, facts. I don't even deserve to talk about him. He is too great for mere mortals like me. I was crying and screaming with happiness watching this game. This was super peak TJ, dog. Yeah, no, bro. It was he. Me and my boy was talking about it this morning. We was like, TJ McConnell is the dude that you hate playing against at the YMCA, at 24 Hour Fitness, wherever you play, whatever pickup game that you got going on. He's a dude that just nonstop, bro. He just plays hard and he plays so sound. He's not the most talented, he's not the most athletic, versatile. He is athletic, but he's not the most versatile guy out there. He just plays the game. He plays the full game. Defense, whatever's needed, the rebounds, the steals, the moving your feet, the help defense, digging down on the ball, getting into the passing lanes, boxing out, right? He's gonna play you tough physically, he's gonna get up into you and make you uncomfortable. He's gonna make you play hard the entire time. And the moment you let up, he's taking advantage of it. And then he's letting you know about it, right? Because that's his game. That's his game. You might be the dude with the handle, shake, hit you with a jump shot, nice shot, it looks good. He's not worried about that stuff, bro. And that was something I kept thinking about is can Marcus Sasser be our TJ McConnell? Can he be our TJ McConnell? Can he be our uh, um, Cason Wallace, who was previously coming off the bench, right? Can he be our Peyton Pritchard, right? That guy who just fits, just understands what we're asking of him in this team and can also change a game with their energy, with their being a dog on defense, getting buckets, right? Putting that pressure on the other team. I think too much last year we saw Marcus Sasser be real hesitant and passive, like he was trying to focus on setting guys up, but he didn't know whether to be a setup guy or shot creating guy or what have you. I just want him to get buckets. Like I don't mind facilitating, getting guys involved in the offense, but don't forget who you are, bro. Don't forget who you are. You're a bucket. Now, let's be clear. TJ McConnell is, he's let me get his age. I think he's like 32 already, right? Yeah, TJ McConnell is 33 years old, right? So it's going to be a while. You may not get there overnight, but I think for the Detroit Pistons, he's worth investing in. He's worth seeing what he could become. Right? These guys weren't everything when they first got to their teams, right? Peyton Pritchard he's 27 years old. He didn't start balling out like this until the last few years. He didn't get into Boston knocking down all his shots, being this guy who you can trust in the playoffs. It took him time. And I think that what you see is the benefit over time is that he's someone you can trust. He's someone who can change the game for you. And I 100%, if you had to line me up Peyton Pritchard, TJ McConnell, Cason Wallace, Marcus Sasser, and you point to the best scorer, shot creator, playmaker, even shooter, hands down for me, it's Marcus Sasser. Hands down. I've never seen Marcus Sasser shoot the ball and did not every single time believe it was going in. Every single time. Every single time. The real thing that if I'm the Detroit Pistons, I'm less concerned with what was that? I'm less concerned with Marcus Sasser as a facilitator. I'm more concerned with Marcus Sasser as a defender. Like, can you give me so much energy that I can't keep you off the court? Like, can you give me that TJ McConnell energy? Can you be that physical and aggressive defensively, getting into passing lanes, creating turnovers, creating havoc, right? Like, you look at guys like Muggsy Bogues and what he was able to do, right, defensively. You look at those guys who are small, seemingly diminutive, didn't seem like they were that athletic, and they were just so feisty. They fought you. That's what I want to see from Marcus Sasser. That's the big shift. I know you're a bucket. Can you be that guy? Can you be that guy that plays with so much energy, gives you so much headache on defense that it changes the game? And then give me your offense. Don't sit here try to be a setup guy. Don't try to be Darius Garland. Be that guy, the energy guy. Let me see. Let's not forget Benedict Mathurin. Yeah, facts, bro. Um, the fact that he played limited minutes against the Knicks, but then he played against OKC and had his career high in the playoff game three is crazy to me. Tough. I mean, the thing about Benedict Mathurin is he hasn't bought into defense. He's the prototypical too cool to play hard sometimes. He can be too cool to give that level of effort on defense that we see him giving now in the finals. And I think that being a part of a winning franchise, a winning team is going to help him to get that. Like, he reminds me a lot of what's his name in Houston? Uh Guy who was drafted, comes off the bench, spent a lot of time in the G League, Cam Whitmore. He reminds me a lot of Cam Whitmore. Very talented offensively, but hasn't figured out how to contribute in other areas, which is why I started this video. That defense travels further than shooting. Because if you look at this game, there wasn't a lot of three-pointers being made. I think Indiana ended up shooting like 9 of 33, something like that, or 9 of, yeah, 30, something like that. But it's to say that a lot of the threes aren't dropping in the finals or the playoffs when teams have a scheme for you. They're playing extremely hard. They're locked in, uh, and they're learning how to take away your first shot option. What else are you going to give me? What else are you going to give me? And if you can get a bucket, that's good. But if you can't do other things, you're not more important than Aaron Nesmith's defense, who can also knock down threes. You're not more important than TJ McConnell. You're not more important than these guys who do so many other things to help us win that surround these other starters. I think Benedict Mathurin has to get that message. And he's showing that. He's showing he's that effective offensively that he deserves an opportunity, which Cam Whitmore does as well. But if you're not going to consistently play defense, I can't justify giving you major minutes in the playoffs or the NBA finals for that matter, unless you come out red hot, which he kind of did, which is why he had so many minutes. But even when it was closing time, he wasn't closing until Neesmith fouled out. Because I need you to do other things. I need you to do other things. Michael Jordan did other things. Kobe Bryant did other things. Tracy McGrady, all the greats did other things. D Wade, fantastic defender, right? Was one of the best shot blocking off guards in NBA history. Rebounded, got assists, got in the passing lane, steals, was a dog on defense, got to the free throw, did all these other things. Benedict Mathurin has to start learning how to contribute in other ways at a high level in order to justify being a starter for an NBA championship worthy team, which they are. All right. A couple of things that I noticed in this game was how much your system can take you a long way, a long way. The individual playmaking and shot creation is beautiful to watch. It's great. But your system is what gets you there. And if you're depending upon your individual shot creation and shot making at the beginning of a game, you're not going to have energy by the end of that game. You're going to be gassed. You're going to be out of it. You're going to be in a position where you're like, man, I'm tired. Because remember, they're also pressing you 92 feet. They're also forcing you to defend not just north and south, but also east and west, right? Passing that ball from sideline to sideline, forcing you to have to defend action on this side and on that side. You're rotating constantly. You are going to lose your legs. What's good, Shane? You are going to lose your legs. And so if you're depending upon shot creation and shot making from the beginning of the game, you're going to be gassed by the end of the game, which OKC was. They were gassed. Now, when you look at how important that is, when you're looking at a team like the Detroit Pistons, they're going to have to they're going to have to create an identity. I think they have a foundation and they have a culture. But the big question for JB Bickerstaff is, what is your identity? Who are you going to be defined as? Now, I know we had shooters last year, Tim Hardaway Jr., we had Malik Beasley. Those guys got off a bunch of shots, but then in the playoffs, it did not translate. And guys who were more important, far more important, were guys like Asar Thompson, who can't shoot a lick, Jalen Duren, who couldn't shoot a lick. Those two guys you could not take off the court. You could not take off the court because of what they gave you in so many other areas. They did so many other things for you. You had to play them. And that's what playoff basketball is about. What are you going to be about, Detroit? JB Bickerstaff, what is your team going to be about? Because right now you have a lot of different directions because Tim Hardaway Jr. and Malik Beasley were not defenders. In fact, for the most part, they were cones on defense. They were liabilities. They were taken advantage of. Shot right over the top of, blown past, straight line drives. Often, often. That was why our defense was so horrific in the first half of the season before Asar Thompson came back. Because Tim Hardaway Jr. is giving up straight line drives. That means you don't force them to have to go to a secondary move. You don't force them to have to change direction. They can get the ball, put the ball on the ground, and go from catch to rim in a straight line. You are a cone, right? That reference comes from doing drills. You put a cone, you do a move, you go straight to the rim. There's no resistance. So are we a team that's going to be defensive minded? Because to me, I would rather have an Aaron Neesmith type of a wing player who's a dog on defense, defends with versatility, 1 through 3 and sometimes 4, length and athleticism, gets out in transition, can attack a straight line drive, but isn't the best shot creator, and even isn't even the best shooter. He's a solid shooter. You can even say a good shooter, but he's not a lights out shooter. But I would take that guy over guys who are lights out shooters. I'd rather have a Jabari Smith Jr. over a Laurie Marketing because he does more. And he fits, to me, the Detroit identity, which has always been this team's identity whenever it's won, which is defense. But you have to get that mindset as an organization that we are a defense first organization, that we are going to play a style that our players have to follow, and whoever we bring in have to follow it as well. So that's what I'm looking for this offseason, especially from the Detroit Pistons. I don't want to see guys coming in, if I'm honest with you. Like, I was not excited about Tim Hardaway Jr. If you saw my videos from the beginning of the season, and I had to backtrack a little bit and say, hey, Tim Hardaway Jr. has been very effective for us, even if he doesn't fit the style of play that I like, that I believe helps you win championships, which is defense. I think we see now Quentin Grimes would have been far more effective for us, but I can go through all that. That's past conversations for me. We said it a million times. Quentin Grimes is a winner. We only won 14 games. He was in a contract year. He went for a place to play where he can play winning basketball and bet on himself to get another contract, to get a bigger contract. That was likely not going to be Detroit. Nobody saw this level of a turnaround, tripling our win total. Had we been able to retain him in our starting lineup, I think we get off to a much better start. I think we see a bigger turnaround. I think we get probably closer to 50 wins. We win a whole lot more of those games at the beginning of the season because Quentin Grimes does other things. He plays defense. He'll get you a rebound. He'll box out. He'll do the TJ McConnell things. He'll do the Josh Hart things. He'll do the little things that help you to win, getting you loose balls and deflections and steals and things of that nature along the way, long before you get to did he knock down the jump shot? Let me see. Peyton Pritchard isn't really a good playmaker. He's more of a two guard than point guard. He a scoring guard. TJ McConnell is an elite playmaker. Those are the differences I guess that you could point out. But I would say uh, Peyton Pritchard, if you followed his career, he's always been a point guard, playmaker, shot creator. It just how it translates in the NBA is different. Um, Guys are bigger, faster, stronger, more athletic. You can't necessarily do all the things you might have used to been able to do. I will say the big difference between TJ McConnell, Peyton Pritchard is 3-point shooting and defense. That's probably the biggest difference. TJ McConnell is a little bit more of a consummate point guard, floor general, mostly because he hasn't been able to shoot for the majority of his career. SSB was good, man. Carlisle coaching circles over OKC. He's out coaching them. His scheme and his system to win this series, to win the series. You have to understand, he's not playing the games, he's playing the series. There's a reason why he said 16 games. He's been saying over and over, been hearing this mantra 16 games. We need to win 16 games to get to a championship. One, I think that's dope because it says he believes in this team's championship aspirations, but he understands what this is, right? He's probably talking to his team. We need two. We need two wins. It doesn't matter if it's in Indiana, Oklahoma City. We need two. We need two. And his scheme for getting there has been what I've been talking about this whole live video, has been push the pace on offense, side to side action in the half court, meaning they have to guard you from one sideline to the other sideline, forcing that defense to have to rotate, help, hedge, defend, show, close out, retreat, box out. The energy they're expending, even in the defensive half court, adds to the transition defense that they're already having to play because of the pace of the game. But then they're defending them 92 feet. And when you're defended 92 feet for an entire game and you have to play defense to that level, you get exhausted. And what you're realizing is that bench for OKC is not quite as deep as we thought, right? Aaron Wiggins had 18 points in game two. He had 0 points in game three. And a lot of that was also because Indiana upped the intensity on defense. Tyrese Halliburton, Obi Toppin, guys, Benedict Mathurin, guys who are not necessarily known for their defense, were playing really good defense, really good, making big time plays. Indiana stepped it up on defense, and that has been all the difference in game three. That defensive intensity, it just got to OKC. And considering that you only have a game apart in this between now and game four, I think there's 2 games between game four and game five. You guys can let me know for sure. Check it out on NBA.com or something like that. Let me know. But I think you have about a 2 game gap between game four and game five, and then it goes every other day for game five, six, seven. This style of play for Indiana is causing problems, major problems for Oklahoma City. And I was sharing with my boy earlier, SGA is not built for this tempo, for this pace. He's not. Maybe Case and Wallace, maybe Alex Caruso, maybe Lewins Dort, maybe J Dub, even Chet can get up and down. But iHeart, uh, SGA, they're not. And what we actually saw in that last game, that rotation was only 7 deep. Oh, I'm sorry, it was 8 deep. Isaiah Hartenstein, Alex Caruso, um, and who's the other one I was just saying? Aaron Wiggins. But when one of those guys off that bench doesn't fit the style of play, he can only have a limited impact. Isaiah Hartenstein was far more effective playing against a team that was more half court oriented. And that part of Indiana's scheme has also neutralized a lot of the depth for the pace for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Am I tripping in saying that I think that sometimes Mark thinks that this team is either worse than it is, or he thinks that it's better than it is? He confuses me sometimes. He just overthinks it too much. Well, I mean, Mark Dagenau, he understands he's coaching against one of the best coaches in the NBA, if not all time, if not all time. Rick Carlisle has had deep playoff runs with the Pistons, with the Pacers, the Dallas Mavericks, now with the Indiana Pacers. Um, and sorry, that was at different two different Pacers junctions. The Paul George, David West, Roy Hibbert days, and then yeah, Dallas, and then back to Indiana. But as to say that Rick Carlisle has so much experience, he's gotten through the jitters before. He's seen it. He's done it. He's been there. He's seen the ups and downs, right? He was the head coach for the Dallas Mavericks going up against the Miami Heatles, right? LeBron and D Wade and them, and he coached one of the most talented collective teams ever assembled in Dallas. Jason Kidd and Jason Terry, Sean the Matrix Marion, Dirk Nowitzki. Uh, you had Tyson Chandler, Defensive Player of the Year. You had an incredible team on that roster. Brendan Haywood, I think, was on that roster too. Deshaun Stevenson. Um, they had a lot of talent. JJ Barea, they had a lot of talent on that team. He coached them to a championship, and then now he's in India. He's seen it. He's done it. Rick Carlisle, he's not seeing anything he hasn't seen before, and I think that that level headedness, not in terms of like calm, but in terms of being able to calculate something and being able to call upon memory to inform what you're seeing is different. Like there were times I saw he subbed out Pascal Siakam with like 7 or 8 minutes to go in the 4th quarter, and then the 4th quarter keeps going, and there's like, I wanna say like 4 minutes left, and I was like actually at the 5-minute mark, I was like, "Oh, you should get back in Pascal Siakam. That's more than enough time for him because you need to close out this game." And yet he stays with Obi Toppin and Miles Turner, and I think that he realized that Obi Toppin is probably the better closeout big depending upon how Miles Turner is playing because his shot has abandoned him and he's really struggling offensively. But can he give you something defensively? Because Miles Turner is only playing minimal minutes. So if he's having a good run, you want to let him play it out as much as possible. And Obi Toppin was playing really well as well. So you wanted to let him play it out as much as possible. And so he kept Pascal Siakam on the bench, I want to say, until about 2 minutes left. And there was like a timeout. I think they were challenging a play. Um, a deflection of the ball out of bounds, which OKC won. But that was the point in which he brought Pascal Siakam, his All NBA, championship winning, All Star, multiple time, Eastern Conference playoff most valuable player, brought him back at 2 minutes. And Pascal was able to immediately outrun OKC and get two runouts, which was I believe, the last two field goals for the Pacers of the game that were essentially what put the game away, and he was able to put pressure in his shot creation on the OKC defense because he was rested, well rested. You see, those types of decisions, a younger coach might be like, "Oh shoot, I got to get my guys in. I got to stick with the rotation scheme and that we have allotted because we have to close this game out." Rick Carlisle says, but I see something. I see something. I think we can hold him out." He's calculating things based upon what he's seeing. I think that's been the biggest difference. Mark Dagenau, he has confidence in his players. I think he really does, but he's struggling to figure out how to adjust to what Indiana's doing because the whole styles make fights. Indiana's style is winning. He is imposing his will on this series, and OKC is flinching first. That was something I said uh, in the Pacers Knicks series that the Knicks flinched first when they took out Karl Anthony Towns early in that series out of the game in the 4th quarter when it was being decided and they needed to get a win. And they said, we can't go with Towns. We can't go with Towns. for all the reasons that I've mentioned before in past videos, but it's to say that they flinched first. When you break from who you are, your scheme, your identity, when you break from it first, you're flinching first. And when you flinch first, you're always adjusting to the other team. Because now they make an adjustment to what you're now doing so they can get back to what they first did that forced you into an unfavorable situation. And they just keep doing that, switching back to what they originally wanted to do. And you are constantly put in the unfavorable position. That's the major um, win, I would say, between the Rick Carlisle, Mark, um, Duggan. What's his name again? Mark, whatever, Mark. You know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I think this is a great series. I think the Detroit Pistons hopefully have a lot that they can learn from this series, from what they're seeing from these teams. I think one of the main things is they have to embrace identity as a team. Who are you going to be? What is your team going to be about? And then once they get that, then they're going to have to reckon with uh, how do we bring in players who only reinforce who we're trying to become, who we believe ourselves to be. Are we a defensive focused team? Are we a offensive team that just wants to shoot and get the ball up? I think it should be defense. And whoever we bring in this offseason, defense has to be their calling card as well. But as always, appreciate this live chat. It's been good right about that time. Let me get to these last points here. Let me see. It's an interesting point. Last year, SGA couldn't control the pace, tempo of the game against Luca, and OKC lost the series. He's losing the battle against Holly as well. I think so too. They don't have the floor general. Like SGA is not a prototypical floor general. Indiana has two. TJ McConnell. Actually, they have three. Andrew Nimhard, Tyrese Halliburton, and TJ McConnell. Right. So that's a big shift. And they're relying upon J Dub to supplement some of that. I don't think Casey Wallace is ready to. I don't necessarily know if he's a floor general, but it's to say that they're getting outplayed in that regard uh, in terms of imposing the system, getting his team into their sets. I just think it's a lot to ask of SGA right now, if I'm honest. He's got to be their best scorer and their floor general and get guarded 92 feet by multiple players with size under different schemes and how they're doubling him, pressuring him, playing more physical, and now back to back, or not back to back, but only a day of rest in between. And he has to defend. Right? Like he doesn't really get hidden. He has to defend Andrew Nimhard or Benedict Mathurin. Right? He has to chase up and down the court and all these different actions. And so I think that he's just getting worn down. He's getting worn down into these last points, and then I'm gonna hop off. Um, yeah, Vinsanity was on that team as well. I totally forgot Vince was on that Dallas team as well. Yeah, and Sandro, what's your favorite NBA player nickname? For me, it's the Natural. For Brandon Roy, um, that shit tough. Nickname, um, I always thought the answer for Allen Iverson was probably the coldest, because for someone to be the answer to every run another team is on, every action another team is in. Um, and that's a great question. I also like the big ticket with Kevin Garnett was a dope nickname. Paul Pierce, the truth, but I mean he was good, but I think at a certain point he started to really believe his own hype, and it was just too much. Uh, Let me see, Starberry, that was a cold nickname. That was a cold nickname. Like Clyde the Glide, for sure, for sure. Definitely was. The Matrix, Sean Marion, that shit was nice. That shit was dope. I was definitely feeling that. Yeah, I think we need some good nicknames for these guys. Um, Cade, I don't know if his nickname will transcend beyond like Motorcade. Motorcade. I don't know if that transcends beyond Detroit fans. These other nicknames transcended like other countries. You know what I mean? Um, yeah, Jesus Shuttlesworth, right? Uh, with Ray Allen, um, the blueprint for Asara Thompson. I call him the X Man. I think he's the X Man. That's what I call Asara Thompson, the X Man. He is absolutely everything, bro. He does it all phenomenally, phenomenally. He's all over the court, rebounding, shot blocking, steals, deflections, rebounding, transition, dunks, putbacks, cutting, everything, speed, all over the place. He's like Nightcrawler, all over the place, and he's got great vision, like Cyclops. He can just get from there to there like a laser beam. He's just everywhere. Poison Ivy. Poison Ivy is actually a cold nickname, especially because he be hitting game winners. Especially because he be hitting game winners. I think Poison Ivy is one. Yeah, yeah. K the Great is 100% his nickname ever created. Dog. I don't know about Cade the Great, bro. I don't know about Cade the Great, but I'm not mad at it though. But shoot, hey, appreciate y'all on this live. Sorry, my energy's a little low today, but I'm looking forward to Game 4 tomorrow. If the Pacers Game 3, I thought whoever won Game 3 was going to win the series. I think the difference between it going 5 or 6 or 6 or 7 is going to be Game 4. If Indiana wins Game 4, I wouldn't be shocked if they also don't win in Oklahoma City and win Game 5. It'll be close. But I think that they've reached a certain point where neither team is scared of each other's home gym. And I think the role players will have more of an impact even in an away gym. And I think Benedict Matherin's offense is going to translate a little bit further. Yeah, see you after Game 4. We're finna be live after this. That's what's up. That's what's up. Yeah, definitely. Hey, but I gotta hop out of here. I think Benedict Matherin's offense is gonna translate to Oklahoma City, and TJ McConnell. I think everything that they did in Game 3, they should be able to replicate in 4 or 5. Maybe not to the same extent, but they're gonna be effective. Aaron Wiggins, I thought the shots he was making, step back three, stuff like that, seemed a little bit outside of him, right? Like you didn't really see that before, not like that. Either way, I gotta get out of here. Enjoy your day. It's your man, 100 grand. Ross with the Rock never stops. Smash the like button for me. Subscribe and the bell for notifications. Appreciate all your support. Helps out with the algorithm, and make sure that you get notified when I have my next live. I'll get at y'all next time. Peace.